And so as soon as we got, I said, let's go to therapy. She said, well, I got to go first. And, all right, you can go see the therapist.
Set the traps.
Yeah. So she goes in and explains to the therapist that I'm an abusive husband. And then she starts phoning. She accused me of being physically abusive.
Whoa.
And then she starts like phoning my family and friends and saying that I'm physically abusive.
Wow. Okay, it's complete fabrications, right? So she's just creating stories.
A good friend of mine, Steve Hibbert, when he heard this, said that's crazy. If Dave was abusive, she would be dead. But then I go into therapy, and the therapist goes, who is prepared for this abusive husband to walk in, and she goes, and she explained to me later, she said, it was very weird because you walked in and you didn't match the description of you at all. And she said, when you walked in, and I saw you two together, I immediately realized that if anyone in this couple was abused, it was me.
Did the therapist say this to her?
I don't know if she ever said it to her in therapy.
Did you have a one-on-one with the therapist?
I had one-on-one with her. Yeah, we both saw her individually and together. And then after about 6 months of therapy, my wife, when I thought things were starting to get better because I was able to do things like go CD shopping with Steve without that being a huge fight when I got home.
Wow.
So that was like, I thought, I'm a little bit of freedom here. I can go out and hang out with my friends for a little bit without there being a huge fight. And but then like she was diagnosed as having borderline personality disorder by our
What
therapist.
does that exactly mean? Why is it borderline personality disorder?
Well, it's a misnomer, really.
I don't like it.
They used to think it was because it was a condition that bordered on being psychotic. And now they know that isn't the condition. It's not anything to do with psychosis, but the name is stuck.
My problem with the name is when you say borderline personality disorder. Do you have a fucking personality disorder or not?
Yeah.
What is borderline? You're kind of weird.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Because in fact, borderlines, a lot of therapists won't even treat them because they think they're just impossible to treat and that they're horrible people to deal with. That they're incredibly dishonest. They're pathological liars.
How do you define it, though? How can you define certain sets of mental illness? I mean, are there tests that they do? Is it a judgment call?
There's like, was it the DSM? Is that what it's called? The Diagnostic Standards Manual? Or something like that. And it's got like a checklist. And if you score a certain number on the checklist, they go, that's a diagnosis. And I think she had like 9 out of 10 on the checklist. For borderline.
Was she always this way, or did she change?
No, she was always that way. She was like basically as soon as we became a couple, like before we were a couple, she was like my before she was my best friend's girlfriend.
Oh shit. That's karma, son.
Yeah.
That's what happened. You got hooked up with karma.
Yeah. And so it was like one of these things where it was like
did she break up with him first and then go out with you, or you guys?
No. It was like one of these things where I sort of said, look, we should stop hanging out so much because I'm
right.
I was like
feeling bad about it?
Again, I was like 20 years old, and at that point, kind of lonely and desperate, and said, look, I've got these feelings, and we should stop hanging out together alone.
Really? You actually said, I have these feelings, and we should stop hanging out?
Yeah.
How many guys would do that?
Yeah.
Very few.
Yeah, and her reaction to that was she just showed me her tits and started kissing me. So I was like, oh, all right. I tried.
You did give it your best. So what happens then? You go to the buddy and go, hey, bro, I fucked your girlfriend.
Yeah, well, I tried to cool it, tried to get out of it, and I even was out of town for a while and tried to stay away from it, but
he was probably like, thank God.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, I didn't realize at the time because I'm going, all right. I thought things were okay with them. And it wasn't until she and I hooked up, like, because again, as soon as we hooked, because borderlines, when they love you, you're the most beautiful, perfect thing in the world. But then after that, like, if anything is wrong, then you suddenly become the most evil, dark, horrible thing in the world. And they can't see the two at the same time. They can't see your flaws and your virtues
How do they treat it?
Wow, I think I've dated somebody.
You've dated every girl you've ever dated.
This is like, man, I need to write this
fucking
down.
guy. You don't even know. He just got out of a relationship with a penthouse pet of the year.
Oh, really?
And it was wonderful. For me, it was like I had my own soap opera going on.
But it was also just like this, where when shit went down, it was on or off. It was no like, shit's down, maybe we can work through this. It was just...
That's one of the key signals of a borderline Is they say it's an inability to recognize the good and bad in the same person.
Wow.
So you can shift from being the most evil person to the greatest person.
100%.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So with my first wife, before we were a couple, when it was just, illicit, when it was like these secret feelings, and when we were friends, I was the greatest guy on earth, and she made me feel like I was the greatest guy on earth.
So you thought, this is the perfect woman for me, even if she's with my friend.
But we have more in common than they do.
Right, of course. Yeah.
And then, but as soon as we became a couple, first thing, like sex, gone immediately.
Whoa.
Like, we didn't have sex for 11 years. Wow. We were together 11 years, and we'd have sex maybe once a year.
Oh, my God.
How did you have 2 kids?
Once a year.
Wow.
Really?
I have very motile sperm.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we had kids because she decided she wanted to get pregnant. And even at that point, I thought, oh, well, at least we'll get laid.
Oh, my God.
And, but
Dave, where were your friends while this was all going on?
Well, what do men friends always do?
It depends on the men friends.
They never say anything. They just sit there and quietly hate her.
Not me, man.
Yeah.
I've learned from the Phil Hartman experience. I tell people.
Yeah.
And whenever I think that my friend's in a bad situation, I will pull them aside.
Yeah.
I've offered,
which is
Duncan,
the risk you should take for a friend.
Yeah. I've had friends stay at my house. Duncan stayed at my house for a few months after he got out.
Yeah.
You got to tell people, like, bro, you're stuck, and you think for some reason or another this person is a part of your life. They are not. This is a show that you're tuning into that you can shut off.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for me, it was like that's a lot of guilt about how we started.
Of course.
And then eventually, I'm almost as crazy as she is after 11 years of no fucking. Your brain doesn't function properly. And it's also 11 years of like twice a month suicide threats.
Oh, God.
Oh
my God.
I hate
and then I got to the point where I was so crazy. I thought, well, man, at least if we have a kid, if we have a kid, she won't kill herself when I leave. And literally, that's how crazy
oh my God.
Within less than a month after my son was born, out of nowhere, she goes, I've been thinking about it, and I think if you left me, even with the baby, I would still kill myself. Like she could read my mind.
Whoa, I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
Holy shit.